I am with Phil Heyworth today, who's the MD of JD Engineering. Welcome, Phil.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great to see you. So just kick off, Phil. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, primarily we are a precision subcontract engineering company. That is basically we get given drawings to make from customers up and down the UK. We really deal in the transport sector. We do a bit for security. That's our main bread and butter. But anything made of metal, we can do it, whether that's turned, milled, fabricated and welded. We'll turn our hand at anything. But there are other strands to the business over the course of the last 7 or 8 years that have been added. We are also 3D printers. So we make prototypes of products before going into production. We also do a lot of things that are fun as well. We've 3D printed a Football World Cup, a brain, dinosaur skeletons, just for our own amusement, really, to see what the machines can do. And we also started a schools program looking at trying to inspire the next generation of engineers and trying to make engineering a viable career path for students. There's a lot of negative perceptions about engineering and manufacturing, something that the country's been built on, something that Lancashire's certainly been built on, and we're trying to eradicate those perceptions within primary and secondary schools and get students looking at it as a viable career path.
Brilliant, good stuff. So you mentioned transport security. What type of jobs are you doing there, and what type of customers in those sectors?
It's a lot of trucks, buses, coaches, and trains. They're the 4 big ones. So we're a subcontractor to a company, again locally, that provide parts to brand new trains, trucks, buses, and coaches. So to think that our little engineering company is providing parts to brand new trains that are up and down the UK is quite something. The
Brilliant.
Pendolino train being one that was Virgin is now Avanti West Coast. So there's parts that are made in our workshop that are littered throughout those trains, and every time I get on one, I think this is brilliant.
Excellent, yeah, that's very satisfying, that, isn't it?
It is very, very much so, because you can also, some of them are at the front of the train as well, so you can actually see the parts, and yeah, there is a satisfaction in that.
Fantastic. So, Phil, what would you say differentiates JD Engineering from other engineering options?
Yeah, I think it's, like I say, we're a small company, and we're certainly not going to pretend we're not. We know exactly what we are, but we do punch above our weight, and I think that's one thing. You get, like I say, we're doing parts for Avanti West Coast and some of these massive train manufacturers and coach manufacturers in mainland Europe, and we're doing it as a small engineering company based in Cong. But you get the personal service, and it's probably the same for a lot of small companies. You're getting that personal service, but you're also getting the product on time to the quality that you required. And I know every engineering company in the world will say that, but that is exactly what you get with us. Right product, right on time, and in the right manner. And I think that's a philosophy that we trade on, and we have done since inception back in 1979. So some things worked. I'd like to think it's that, and I've continued that throughout my tenure as managing director, and long will it hopefully continue when I'm no longer here. So yeah, it's really simple, I suppose. It's a simple philosophy, but one that works. So if it's not broken, we don't try and fix it.
Mm. And what's come about as a result of the pandemic and COVID? What are the changes that you've seen?
Very little, really, in day-to-day operations. Obviously, we need to be here. We're manufacturing. I think it's a lot, from my point of view, it's a lot of customer relations. I'm certainly not doing as many miles as I used to. This has been a superb platform. The Zoom and Teams scene has been incredibly useful, I think, for a lot of people. and I can't see that ever changing now. Certainly, I don't need to be going to Birmingham, London, or up into Scotland, or even the East Coast, the East or West Coast anymore. I can jump on Zoom and I can do an hour's meeting in an hour. I'm not doing an hour's meeting in a day. So I think that's one thing. Being a little bit more aware as well, and engineering, it's male dominated. It's known as a sector that nobody can do any complaining, and I think the pandemic certainly opened a lot of doors up for people to communicate more about how they feel and worries and things like that. And I think that's another thing that's certainly stayed. We want to hear what concerns are, and we've certainly taken that on board now. And everything's a lot cleaner, and I love it. Keep everything clean. We're an engineering shop. We don't want it to be dirty and filthy. Clean is good for me. I like it. So yeah, they're probably the main points. But yeah, I know a lot of industries will have had massive changes because of that pandemic. We can't really change a lot of what we do. We've got to be on site. We've got to be making. But it's probably just a little bit about using your head, thinking a little bit more strategically and a little bit cleaner. And this, like I say, Zoom and Teams has been absolutely massive.
So change for the better, really.
Yeah, certainly. But that's and again, as an engineering company, that's the only reason you want change. If you're changing for the better. If it's not for the better, it's not something that you want to be doing.
Yeah, good. And what does the future look like, Phil? What are the challenges ahead for you?
Well, again, probably like a lot of companies are facing at the moment, energy. The cost of energy is just going up and up and up and up and up, and we use a lot of it. It's finding work, it's import and export because of the Brexit stuff. However, there seems to be a bit of a shift from people that are looking at making things in the UK now, so that's a bit of a positive, I suppose. But it's getting that to stick, and not letting all these, the Brexit and the import export situation, let it all clear up and then going back to China to get things mass produced. We want to look at keeping that in the UK. And companies like Make UK and Made in Britain, and they're really pushing that now, and hopefully that's another thing that will be a long-term change for people, because you get the quality that you want, and you benefit in the economy as well while you're doing it. So why would you not want to get something made in the UK? It's even Lancashire Business for you guys that were saying there's £1 billion if you keep using Lancashire businesses. So and all that's keeping it in our county. But yeah, bigger than that, I suppose. It's, if you can't keep it in the county, at least try and keep it in the UK or even the northwest. Let's not send it over the north-south border. And
we all know about the quality differentiation there as well, don't we?
Oh yeah, 100%. And you get what you pay for it at the end of the day. And I'm a firm believer in that. Everybody will have bought something at home that they've used once, it's broken, and you buy it again. It's an old apprentice trainer of mine used to say, if you buy Fairy Liquid, it costs you a bit more, but you only use half as much. And it's probably that old adage. But you buy it quality and it keeps, and you're laughing. If you buy cheap, you buy twice.
Yeah. So Phil, what have been the key learnings for you during your journey?
There's been lots. Key learnings, you mean failures? There's been a lot.
There is no failure, only feedback.
Exactly, yeah. I think that is certainly one. I think the early days failures, you struggle to take the lessons out of it, and you end up beating yourself up a little bit. But it's learning, it's learning from your mistakes, not repeating them. If you repeat them, you're doing something wrong. Nothing's going to beat working hard. There is no shortcut. I'd love to sit here and tell people that there was a shortcut. There's really not. You've just got to put the work in. It's like, what would I tell myself if I was doing it all again? And I don't particularly like answering that question, because if you were to do it all again, you wouldn't end up where you are now. And you're here for a reason, I suppose, aren't you? But yeah, it is just just working hard, you know, getting the right contacts, having the right people around you. I think it's networking as well, and again, finding people that not even necessarily in the same sector or can benefit you financially, but even finding people that can just sit in your network and you can just use as a soundboard. You know, I'll talk about, you know, a good friend of the company who's Azar Iqbal, who owns Colne Tyre Centre and Tyre. We're absolutely poles apart in business. You know, we can never, you know, there's never any gel there for us to, for him to use our services. Obviously, we can use his, but as a soundboard and as a person, he gels with us superbly. And it's about having people like that around you, and keeping that network, and you know, and doing things and using them. They can become your sales team, and they can become your board, your board of directors as well, if an outsourced board of directors, if you will, as well. And it's having that network that I think is vital, really. And that was probably something that I didn't learn quickly. I thought networking wouldn't be for an engineering company, because you see you know, everyone seems to be selling in the room, and I thought there's going to be nobody in there that does what we do. But it's not what the people in that room want. It's the people that they know, and it's the skills that they've learned, and it's the things that they've picked up over that time that you can really learn from. And it's I think it's vital, really, really important to have a good set of people around you.
So if there was somebody starting off on the journey that you started off on, what advice would you give them?
It will probably be that, you know, and as cringy as it sounds, it's all about people. Business is all about people, whether you want it to be or not, whether you think it is or not. You've got to be talking to people. People have lived similar experiences to you. No one ever lives the same experience as you, because, you know, no two people are exactly the same, but they're certainly living, or they've certainly been in similar situations, and it's learning from them, really. And I wish, you know, I said earlier on, I wouldn't ever go back, but I wish I had known that earlier, because it took me probably 2 or 3 years before I started actually networking properly, and it was because of Azar Colne Tyres that actually made me come and do it. You know, and he just said one morning, "I'm not taking no for an answer, and if I have to, I'll come and pick you up. But you really need to start learning from these people, because you can't just live in this bubble anymore." So yeah, that'd be the main one, really. Get a good team of people, regardless of what profession that they're in, just for somebody to soundboard from.
Brilliant. Great advice, Phil. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for having me.